Hello, welcome everybody. I have the great pleasure of having Cindy A. Nguyen here to my right. Cindy, you just released Non-Future, and we want to use this opportunity to talk a little bit about your film. So first and foremost, why did you make the film?
Hi everyone, thanks for being there. I don't know, I'm nervous.
That's okay. Keep it going.
Okay, honestly, I felt like I just had to make the film. I'm in this position where I've been thinking a lot about my responsibility and the different type of labor that I owe to society at this point and to myself. So besides my job, which is to teach, and my responsibility to guide my students, as well as my commitment to my family, I felt like I had to do something to basically share a sense of hope and joy and gratitude to other people. In some ways, I feel like the film was a letter to myself to stay hopeful and thankful and grateful. But it was also like in the creation of the narrative arc, I wanted people to feel kind of to share in this feeling of fear that a lot of us are feeling right now, especially and the sense of like loss of control. So I wanted to communicate that, but I was very conscious of like a stronger narrative arc towards hope and optimism, just because I feel like at least as an artist, that's what I could convey right now to help boost the morale of the world.
So to play off your point about the narrative arc, can you tell us a little bit more about your workflow, how you created Non-Future, and how you structured it essentially to create a sense of optimism and hope?
I think when all of this was starting, the first thing I did was to try to put to words some of the feelings of uncertainty, sense of distress and fears. So I tried to put that into words. And like as a writer, I felt really inadequate. I would say things, and I would even I would take my role as a historian, thinking about like large trajectories. I thought about my parents and war and struggle and how resilient we can be. But then I just felt like words could not really convey everything that was going on, and like the situation was changing so rapidly, so everything just felt really inadequate. So what I did was I stopped writing. And then I knew I wanted to convey something visually because it had more of like an interpretive, multi-directional, inexplicable expression of our feelings. So like as like a full stack director, someone who has the visual aesthetics and the vision for the film, but also I produce it. Eric helps with the cinematography, and then I act and I dance in it as well. I felt like I could just be present in the expression of an emotion, if that makes sense.
And talking about emotions, what kind of emotions did you want to convey to the viewers? And also, like, can you talk about your own personal emotions through the creating and the editing in this film?
Yeah, so I think like one reaction people had when they saw the film, and I was a bit, shy about it, was that like, Cindy, I didn't know you were a dancer. And then I was just like, yeah, I didn't know I was really a dancer either. I just kind of allowed my body to move and channel the expressions and the feelings that I was holding in. And that feeling could be like this sense of like containment or constraint, and like physically we were constrained of moving, physically and emotionally we aren't sure of what the future looks like. We're separated from loved ones, and there's also a sense of like helplessness and hopelessness. So I wanted to so I guess those are the words, but I think even as I'm saying those words, it feels like really inadequate. So I just like meditated on the feeling, and then instead of trying to put into like kind of using my mental categorical brain to like explain what was happening, I just like channeled it into movement. So that's what I did as a dancer, or as a mover, really. But I wanted to also like, going back to the narrative arc, like kind of show the progression of emotions that we're all feeling, because I think like at this point, at least for me, it's like there's extremes. Like I would get like extreme highs and extreme lows. Like extreme lows where I'm like uncertain about like the financial future of like my father's restaurant, or like about my sister-in-law who's a nurse, or what like the new regulations are. So there's like all these lows, and there's highs, just like when it's like a sunny new day like today, or when our flowers are blooming, or when we just like have a nice meal with Eric. And I just feel like there's these like extremes that we're kind of bobbing around in. So I wanted to convey both emotions in like this like lightness and dark, kind of this dance between like movement and non-movement and what all that means.
So I find the title non-future a very interesting one, and talking to friends and family, it looks like most people are planners, but for you, what does it mean to be a planner in an uncertain future where it feels like there's sort of a non-future? Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm an excessive planner, and I think for me, it has to do, and I've reflected a lot on this, but I think it has to do a lot with a sense of both control and hope. Because I don't plan just to feel like I have control of everything. I mean, that's a small part of it, but I recognize I don't. The other side is that I plan because I have things to look forward to. Like if that means, I mean, before I had all these research plans to go to Southeast Asia. I was going to do an art film in the refugee camp I was born in. There was this thing that I had envisioned was going to come into reality. And I think at this point, how I've adapted as a planner is that I have to just recognize that I can plan on the day level, which is like, okay, what are we going to eat today? How are we going to take care of ourselves? Who are we going to call to connect with other people? Where, like, things about budgeting and things like that. And I can plan on like the 10-year level, which is really more aspirational. Just like 10 years from now, where do I want to be? Where do like we as a creative team and couple want to be? And then kind of thinking like 10 years in the future, and also like it helps us to think like 10 years in the past, where were we? And we had no idea that 10 years ago, that 10-year, I guess, how old were we? 22-year-old Sinderic didn't know that like 32-year-old Sinderic would be here in this moment, not just with COVID-19, but like I wouldn't think that I would be making this film, honestly, at all, like, and sharing it. I didn't think that I had, I'm still like navigating my relationship to my body and what that means, and a certain type of fear that I have to express myself, but also my art, and even to like categorize it as art. Like I think I'm still navigating that, but 22-year-old Cindy would look at 32-year-old Cindy and be like, who is this person? I would have no idea like that would be like Cindy.
So what would 42-year-old Cindy 10 years from now look back at 32-year-old Cindy and say?
I don't know. Sometimes I wonder, like, we might lean into this experimental performance art thing and just go off the grid. Who knows? But I think that's kind of what's exciting, is that I think at the core of it, I mean, I guess 22-year-old Cindy and 32-year-old Cindy have shared values, but I think the manifestations are different. So like shared values of like being grateful, being playful, and I think being playful helps to, I mean, you might say like being fearless, but I think for me it's like not, like being playful is to embrace the spirit of letting go of your ego. It's like there isn't a winning or losing. It's just like playing is just fun. So anything you do is fun. It's not about like, is it necessarily evaluatively like good or bad? It just is. And I think like we had that spirit since we were 22, maybe naively just because we had no idea what we were doing. But I think I'm really trying to embrace that now. And I think 42-year-old Sinderic will still be equally as playful. And I don't know, it might manifest into something even more elaborate. We're going to create VR, disembodied reality, visual art. I don't know. That's really exciting.
I think a lot of people watching this video right now, they want to do something. Like they want to make art or they want to help out. But I think a lot of people feel helpless, or they feel like, their contribution is so small. Like what kind of words of encouragement or thoughts would you share, either in terms of like inspiring other artists to
A
make?
sibling or as a volunteer, a teacher, someone working on the front lines. Like they're really confronting like what is it that we do and why do we do it? And I think that could be really, really healthy because I think it confronts kind of this existential like purpose in life. But I think it can also like lead down a dark path, which is like I feel like nothing I do matters, or I feel like this hasn't, like I can't even do what I want to do. So I think like to contain that slippery slope into existential darkness, it's helpful to think about what what is it, like even something really really small that you can do, whether it be learning a new recipe and trying out the dish, or calling a family member, or like sharing or writing a little, like writing a little thought. It doesn't have to be a poem. You don't have to but just like you went on a socially distanced safe walk and then you saw a tree and it like reminded of you of a tree from your childhood. Like I think that's a nice thought. And then you have that thought, and then maybe like sharing it with someone from your childhood and having that. I think right now it's so meaningful to because we're not physically connected, to still have that emotional sense of connection, whether through like sharing that piece with someone from your family or childhood, and then to pass on this sense of care and tenderness to one another.
Any last words?
Last words.
And by the way, I think the last beginning part of the video got cut off. So the last question was words of encouragement. So now last words.
Wait, what got cut off?
Don't worry. So last words to end this video.
To end this video, yeah, I know things are hard, and it's hard in different ways, and I think, I don't know, I was talking with my mom about this, my parents, both of us, who like, they lived through war at difficult times, and I think something to remember is that, we are survivors and we're resilient, and maybe I'm saying this to just remind myself, but it needs to be said. Take care of yourself, whether that means kind of just having like quiet time to like step away from like news and media, and just like kind of having, enjoying that cup of coffee, or looking at a plant, or calling a family member. And I think I think we're in like a trying time that really can help strengthen us as individuals, but also as a larger society.
Okay, thank you very much, Cindy. So where can people watch your film or learn more about you or what you do?
Yeah, so Eric was kind enough to also share the film on his YouTube channel, but if you want to just be updated on both my writing and essays, my art website is misreading, so MIS-READING.com. That's where you see my arts portfolio, my film work, and soundscape stuff. And then for my research and scholarship on history and memory, it's at Cindy A. Nguyen, CINDYANGUYEN.com. Yeah, so you can follow me on both those platforms.
And let's say I want to give you some feedback or some thoughts or whatever. What's the best way to reach you?
To reach me is misreadingart@gmail.com. So MISREADINGART@gmail.com.
Are you going to read the comments in this video?
I do. I know Eric is like really good at not reading comments, but I do read the comments, and then I appreciate them, but I'm also like horrified by them.
So guys, please be kind.
I'm scared. No, be fearless.
But yeah, I really wanted to thank you, Cindy, for having the courage to make art in this difficult time. I know I personally had a lot of fun making the film, and I feel very joyful. I'm very grateful that this is all happening in the beginning of spring. The days are getting a little bit longer and stuff like that. And your film certainly made me smile. It put a lot of dance and movement into my life and my soul, and certainly it's helped my mom and the whole family. So thank you again for Cindy. So once again, check out Misreading, MIS-READING.com, CindyANGUYEN.com. and watch the film. And if it resonates with you, please leave a comment, share it with a friend, WhatsApp, Facebook, Twitter, email, text message, and hopefully we could all continue to motivate and empower one another. Bye-bye now.
Take care.
Take care.